Good afternoon. I want to welcome you on behalf of the NCATC board. We're getting everybody entered into the webinar. We want to take this moment to share a video about how Purdue University is adapting to the current scenario.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathy Wrench of Quinsigamond Community College based in Massachusetts, and also the 2020 NCATC Board President. On behalf of the National Coalition of Advanced Technology Centers Board of Directors and our many industry strategic partners, I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar today. NCATC focuses its work around 4 key pillars. 1, the future of the workforce and Industry 4.0. 2nd, work-based learning and apprenticeships. 3rd, competency-based education and industry-recognized credentials. And 4th, adult education and learning equity opportunities. To some extent, today's presentation will touch on all 4 of these pillars while focusing on how we all may recruit students and faculty for a safe, high-quality return during the COVID-19 pandemic. We are so pleased to bring you this 2nd webinar in the series at no charge to our members and non-members. NCATC members receive several benefits, including a great network of other advanced technology centers to network and share best practices with. We'll be highlighting one of those partners today with Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois. We also provide external grant evaluation plus technical assistance for National Science Foundation ATE grants and member assistance programs we call MAPS, consulting projects that can help you align your college with industry in your area and ensure that you're on the right track to providing the educational opportunities to build the pipeline and the workforce for your region. For more information, please feel free to enter your name and contact information, your email in the question box, and we will make sure to respond to you. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing NCATC's Executive Director and CEO, Craig McAtee, for some housekeeping comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, very much, and Tony for the intro video. We are delighted to have Chris Lewis from Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois with us today, as well as our keynote speaker, one of our longtime friends and colleagues and newest strategic partner, Mark Perna of TFS Results. He is an internationally recognized author, speaker, and CEO, and just recently launched a new Alexa daily briefing called the Perna Syndicate. We've also got Tony Neary from the Haas Morris Group from Cleveland. She'll be managing the question box for us. So please, if you have questions during the presentations today, type them in the question box and they will absolutely be funneled through Tony to make sure we make it to the question and answer period after the presentations. Both Tony and Chris serve on the NCATC board. And in fact, Chris is the incoming president of the board for 2021. Last but certainly not least, today's webinar is sponsored by another great strategic partner of NCATC, the National Tooling and Machining Association, NTMA. They'll share timely and important information about workforce and education and some of the great work they're doing in manufacturing careers and recruitment of students across the nation today with us. And before we begin, I'd like to make sure everybody knows that today's session is being recorded and will be available, and we'll tell you more about that toward the end of our webinar today. But this is also, after the webinar at 3:30, our first time ever launching a trial balloon, if you will, of a virtual exhibit hall. And we've got 6 of our strategic partners, you can see them on the screen now, who will be there from 3:30 to 4:30. And the link for that is very simple. You can go to our website to find it. It's right there on that slide. And it's also located in the handout section of this webinar to your right. And it's a PDF called Virtual Exhibit Hall Handout. So look for that and spend a little time with them. They'll have even more information for you one-on-one after the webinar. Lots of great connections to help everybody else. The slide deck and recording of this will be available. There'll be a brief survey after the webinar, probably first thing next week, and we'll make sure everybody gets access to the recording as you take that brief survey. Again, today's presentation, you'll have time for Q&A. That'll be after our sponsor highlight. And right now, I'd like to, without further ado, introduce our first speaker, and that is Chris Lewis. Chris currently serves as Vice President of Workforce Development for Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois, as I mentioned. He joined RVC January 2019 as the Vice President of Community Outreach and Strategic Partnerships and moved on into the new role he's in for Workforce Development recently. He's actively involved with Rockford community, making sure that there's an increase in relationships and partnerships between industry, government, and education. He was also an interim president for one of our colleges in Alabama before moving to Rock Valley, J.F. Drake State Community and Technical College, and was a special assistant for workforce in the entire state of Alabama before moving to Illinois. Prior to joining RVC and ACCS, he served as president and CEO of South Regional Minority Supplier Development Council. That's a mouthful. And Chris is a former business owner serving as managing partner for L&S Enterprises. So he brings a lot of great experience from both the business, educational, and government background. So without further ado, I'd like to really bring on Chris Lewis for his presentation today. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Craig. It is a pleasure to be here today. And as we talk about really recruiting strategies for students and faculty, I want to take a few minutes to talk about something that we're doing here at Rock Valley College. We have the Workforce Equity Initiative grant, which we call WEI. And WEI is here because of the disparities that have existed in the African American community in Illinois, in Rockford in particular. Where African Americans have ranked dead last in regards to housing, unemployment, healthcare, and education. We wanted to do something along with the Black Legislative Caucus of Illinois to do something that will have an impact in that community. With the WEI grant, there was $18.7 million that was awarded statewide. There were 15 colleges that were selected. Rock Valley College was one of those 15 colleges where we were awarded $1.5 million. And the purpose of that grant for us was to be able to, again, provide short-term training that would lead to national certification and that will provide wages 30% above the regional living wage. For us, that means that we will provide wages at $15 an hour at a minimum. Hope, I'm trying to go through the slides as well. Get in advance for me, Hope.
I can, but why don't you try one more time, Chris?
All right. All right, let's try it. There we go. The WEI grant that we had actually was, our goal was to serve 150 participants. With that, a minimum of 60% of those participants had to be African American. Our goal as well was that 75% of the participants had to complete one of the identified programs. With 75% of those individuals going through a job readiness soft skill training, we know we hear so often from our employers that one of the #1 things that they need is soft skills. Also, 60% of the participants is our goal for them to go to work in the industry that they have been trained in. The programs that we included were truck driving, coal forming, industrial welding, and then CNC, computer numeric control. We started this thing out, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about before COVID and then our friend COVID. We started off in the beginning, we had over 300 people who signed up. The grant actually started September 17th, and we kicked off actually January the 6th of 2020. We had a big kickoff where we had brought in over 100 people on November 13th, where we had a chance to give them an informational session, really to talk with them and let them learn more about what we were doing. We ran billboards, we ran radio news ad. We were featured on numerous local morning shows. I personally, along with my staff and team and our executive leadership, we went out into the community where we met with community leaders, neighborhood meetings. We went to church meetings. If they invited us, we went. We partnered with numerous employers as well because our focus was to provide short-term training that would benefit them. As we mentioned, we hosted a career fair. After our first cohort group was able to finish up, we had a career fair. We brought in 15 local companies and regional companies. We even had companies that came as far as my home state of Alabama to participate. We implemented a retention program because we knew we had a large demand for students who wanted to be a part of these programs. And while they were waiting, we put together a retention plan that included also an additional soft skill training, financial management, and interviewing skills so that we could keep them ready when their opportunities came available. And then, as we talked about, COVID happened. And we had to really turn our world 180 days in a short period of time. With that, we moved first and foremost our job readiness class. What we decided to do was to provide job readiness up front because we were bringing employers in throughout the courses, and we wanted our students to be ready when they had the opportunity to shine and speak with employers. We took the job readiness, which is a 35-hour class, into a synchronous delivery online, and it has worked wonders. We also moved our NIMS certification for measuring materials and safety online. In addition to our CNC training, we moved the majority of that also into a synchronous delivery online. What we required was that they would come in for 2 days toward the end to demonstrate their competency on the equipment. We also learned from our mistakes is that it was important to also give them some time face-to-face to be able to handle a micrometer and a caliper, because we learned that there was no way for them to professionally use those things simply by doing it online. We've also moved our truck driving program as far as our pre-trip inspection. We've taken that online as well in regards to also our CDL prepping. So when they come in right now, for our truck driving program, the only thing they're doing is actually their road work. We've issued laptops, we've issued hotspots, and we're actually in the process of ordering a large number of laptops to be able to meet the growing demand that our students have. This is an underserved population. And with that, there's a tremendous technology gap that exists. But we know, being in a community where we have a large, diverse population, that for us to sustain our enrollment and for us to grow our programs, both on the non-credit and credit side, this is something that we must acknowledge and put as a priority for our institution. We're also with one of our non-traditional programs that we've never thought we could ever do in an online delivery mode, which is cold forming, which is, for many who don't know, is the manufacturing of screws. We are now developing an on-demand online curriculum using a series of videos by the name of Master Task, where we'll be able to take 80 of 120 hours of that into an online on-demand delivery. Our students will only come in at that point in time to demonstrate their competency. So it is going to expand our reach, not only to our WEI students, but to students nationally, because we have one of only a few programs nationally that still provide training in code forming. We've hosted virtual recruiting webinars that we're doing now. We've appeared on several podcasts with community leaders talking about our programs. And we have gone back only as recently to host face-to-face recruiting events with our partners at Goodwill and the African American Resource Center, where we are observing social distancing while doing those things. We're also in preparation of hosting, just like with this webinar, our first virtual career fair in September. And so while COVID has been disruptive, it has not stopped us from making sure that we are engaging students from our underserved communities. To date, from those works, and even as a result of COVID, we have served 111 students out of 150. We have 52 students that are currently enrolled in our programs. We have 41 who've completed. 26 of those 41 are employed, even during this time of COVID. We've had 18 students to drop. We knew that we would have some attrition, and that has occurred. 62% of the students that we have served have been African American. Now, one of the things that we have done and has let us be successful is our partnerships. We could not have been successful if it were not for our partners. We have partnered with Goodwill of Northern Illinois, who what they do is provide the support services to our students in regards to wraparound services that include transportation, childcare, and an individualized life coach to make sure that we can have someone there to address the personal issues that they're having. We've worked with our representatives. Matter of fact, our state representative, Representative Maurice West II, was an advocate for this grant. And he has been working with us lockstep the whole time. We've actually worked with him to attend career fairs, to be a part of his podcast. But another thing that we're doing is very exciting. We work with our state's attorney's office because we've had numerous individuals who are ex-offenders. We're working with her through her program for individuals who come to us. If they finish the education component, she will expunge their record for the offense that they're dealing with. Again, we are partnering, and our number of employers is continuing to increase because they're seeing the value of what we're doing, not only in the underserved community, but the training that we're providing individuals in this community. We're still working very aggressively with our community partners that include Eliminate Racism, which is a group that's here doing wonderful things. The Rockford Ministers Fellowship, which encompasses most of the pastors in our area. Again, the YMCA, the YWCA, our Workforce Investment Board, and numerous other partners, because for us to be successful, we have to not live in a vacuum. But let me be honest, we've also experienced some challenges, which you all would experience as you're dealing with particularly individuals from underserved communities. Some of the challenges we have been family concerns. Many of our participants are single parents, and the child care piece has been really valuable to try to address the challenges that they would have. If we didn't have this, they could not come to our programs. We've had many students who've had health issues. They've had no insurance for medication. And we've had to look at how we could help subsidize some of those things in the short term. And then we have many students who are working. They're underemployed, not unemployed, underemployed. They're working night shifts and they're coming to our classes in the daytime to try to change the trajectory of their careers. And so we're working with them because we know that they're tired, and we're trying to work with them to make sure that we can help them be successful. We've had to change some prerequisites for some of our programs like truck driving, which has been hit the hardest by COVID. What we demand now is that every student that comes to us must come with a CDL permit that they've already attained before they begin their class. That has allowed us to reduce our attrition rate, and it's also helped us to increase our retention and completion. And then lastly, which is just the truth, we know in our community college environment, we have a lot of individuals who are both housing insecure, and also they have some food insecurities. We've faced a lot of individuals who are facing eviction. We've had a lot of individuals who've become homeless as a result of trying to change their life. We do provide a completion stipend with this grant, and we also help them with job placement. But during the time, because our programs go anywhere from 5 weeks to 7 weeks, with the longest being welding, that actually goes 32 weeks. But we have been working with, in some cases, the Public Housing Authority to help out. We have actually been able to pay, in some specific situations, the first month of rent for individuals who have gone through these programs and have faced eviction and homelessness. But we're proud to say that we've had some success stories. We've had individuals to be able to now get their first home. Students who are now not only finished at $15 an hour, but are now starting jobs at $20 an hour and plus. And so we have actually seen the success that you can have if you put a priority in putting the support mechanisms that are needed in the underserved community. It works and it's needed. With that, I'm going to move on to our keynote speaker, and I want to introduce him. He is Mark C. Perna. Mark is the founder and CEO of TFS Results, a full-service strategic communications and consulting firm at the forefront of the national paradigm shift in education and workforce development. As an international generational expert, Forbes.com contributor, and Alexa Flash briefing host, Mark empowers educators and employers to unleash the tremendous potential of today's young people. He delivers more than 70 virtual and in-person keynotes annually across North America and spoke at Harvard University by special invitation. At TFS Results, Mark's team shares his vision of helping organizations experience significant gains in recruitment, engagement, retention, and performance. Mark's award-winning bestseller, Answering Why, Unleashing Passion, Purpose, and Performance in Younger Generations, which I have on my nightstand, was written to help educators, employers, and parents understand the millennial and Z generations and inspire them to greater performance in all areas of life. You can find out more information about Mark at markcperna.com. But with no further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Mark Perna.
Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I applaud all your efforts and everything that you're doing to truly make a bigger difference in your community with your students and driving forward all the things that you've got. Really wonderful to actually listen and be a part of that and follow you. So it's an absolute honor to be here with you today, and I'm going to jump right in. And, when I speak around the country, I love to ask a couple of very simple questions. How many people listening to me right now would like to unleash passion, purpose, and performance in younger generations? And as a result of that, how many of us would like to attract and retain significantly more of the right students into the right programs and pathways for all the right reasons, either at the college level or at the K-12 level? And usually everyone in the audience raises their hand, and I'm even going to define the right student. The right student in manufacturing or in any career-focused education anywhere in the United States is that student who is motivated, they're dedicated, they see a light at the end of the tunnel for a program or pathway, and they actually want to get there. The light at the end of the tunnel is a simple concept. What does their career and lifestyle look like at the light at the end of their tunnel? The tunnel, that's the time they spend with us in education, right? It's the work, the labor, the effort, the skill development, the academic rigor. It's everything that's necessary for them to take a step and another step and another step. You know, and we've reached a point in this country where the world has changed because we've got far too many young people today standing still in the tunnel, adult learners and, you know, K-12 learners. They stand in the middle of the tunnel and they don't take a step because it could be for a number of reasons that they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. They don't see something that they want to connect to. They're afraid to take the step because they're afraid to fail. And so there's lots of reasons why they stand, but we're talking today about how do we start moving them down the tunnel, because this is how we attract and retain more right students into right programs and pathways for all the right reasons. And there's a tremendous skills gap in America. Of course, I'm talking to people who know that, right? Most of us are connected in manufacturing, either at the college level or the high school level. And I've been working with organizations across North America for 24 years. I mean, I work with community colleges and technical colleges and career centers and unified school districts and comprehensive school districts, all to do enrollment and retention strategic planning, to do, you know, all of the things that are necessary in order to be able to, you know, attract more students, shift the paradigm in education and workforce development. How do we get people to think differently? People don't understand the power and the value in getting into manufacturing and where it can lead and where you can go and how you can get there. And so I work with best practices across the country and I do all those things. But the key center point is the narrative that we use. It's how we tell the story. Because I can sit today and I could spend the entire 45 minutes talking about how we need to be doing social media more and how we should be, you know, creating videos, and certainly in a COVID kind of distance learning environment, you know, how are we going to connect with students and how are we going to get our message out there? And sure, there are ways to do that, but if it's not the right message, those things are, you know, it doesn't matter, because we've got to have the right message and we have to be able to shift the paradigm and what young people think and what their parents think and what our community thinks, and legislators and business and industry partnerships and our feeder programs. So if you're from a community or technical college here today, it's those people who are feeding students into your programs for them to understand how we shift the narrative and how we begin to move forward. And so, you know, I want to start with the changing landscape in education and workforce development in this country, and the sands are shifting as we speak. And what I have found in the 24 years of what I do and how I do it across America, what I have found is, and I've been talking about this, is that the world's completely changed. It's completely different today. Not only, I mean, I was talking like this prior to pre-COVID mid-March, but now it's doubled down with COVID because the world has completely shifted. There are three critical things that people need today in this world. Three, you have to have all three because it's the only way to create a competitive advantage. The first is robust academic knowledge. Absolutely true. You still have to have robust academic knowledge in this country in order to be successful. So no matter where you're coming from, no matter where you sit today, there has to be some academic knowledge connected to it. And there was a time when you could have just robust academic knowledge, right? Some of us who are a little bit older know all those things we've seen, right? If you had this much education, you made this much you made this much you made this much you made this, and here's where the world's changed. It's no longer necessarily true. It's not necessarily untrue. It's just not necessarily true either. It all depends on what you're in, where you go, and how you navigate into careers and occupations based on your education. But no, today it's paramount that you have two additional things. And I'm teaching you right now part of the narrative that we need to be going out as organizations, as individual teachers, because I know right now I've got administrators, I've got teachers listening at both the college and the K-12 arena. And we've got to go out and we've got to be able to talk. And I'm giving you this example of the power of the narrative that I speak about everywhere I go. And so robust academic knowledge is a key part of that. But you also have to pair it today with technical competency. You have to have the technical competencies to do things both cerebrally and hands-on. So whether you're a surgeon or an accountant, whether you're in manufacturing or in culinary, you have to be able to do certain things. And that is of critical importance today. And probably the most important of all is the third one, which is professional skills. Chris mentioned them as soft skills, and that's what everybody calls them. They call them soft skills, but I changed the name to professional skills about 8 years ago because I found that soft skills make it sound like they're unimportant when I think they're the darn near most important things we can teach young people today. The power of professional skills, things like work ethic, punctuality, leadership, communication, work-life balance, stress management, networking, flexibility, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, all of these things and more are what we call professional skills. But here's where we are in America today, is that according to the Wall Street Journal, they did a survey of business and industry across America, and what they found is this, is that 92% of the respondents, 92%, said that they value professional skills over both academic knowledge and technical competency. A lot of businesses and industry out there today are saying, look, if you show up on time consistently with some critical thinking skills and you care while you're here and you can pass a drug test, we're all in. We'll teach you what you need to know. That being the case, we have to take our manufacturing, we have to take our career-focused education, and we have to start building a narrative where we are the critical components of robust academic knowledge, right? We build relevance to academic pursuits, we add technical competency, we add professional skills, and the three of those create a tremendous competitive advantage moving forward in this country. And that's where we sit today. The other component of this is the light at the end of the tunnel, right? I already kind of touched on it a little bit. The light at the end of the tunnel is a simple concept. What does their career and lifestyle look like at the light at the end of their tunnel? And some things that you might be able to use here. The light at between the word lifestyle and career, which one to you is most important to young people? Which one do they feel is most important to them? If you answered lifestyle, you're completely correct. More than half of every decision a young person makes, and when I say a young person, I mean 39 and younger, more than half is based on how it affects their lifestyle. Career has actually become a lifestyle decision. And so here is something you can use both in enrollment and retention. If you want to have a substantive conversation about a career with any young person, 39 and younger, this may be an aha moment for some of you, but start with lifestyle. Don't start with career. The conversation about lifestyle is one that can get the conversation rolling, and it can dovetail into a career conversation based on where they view themselves on this spectrum. There's a spectrum of lifestyle in America today. On one end of the spectrum, there are those who want to be wealthy, right? They want the mansions, the cars, the boats, the country club memberships. They want to live like a Kardashian, right? This is where they see themselves. On this end of the spectrum are people who would love 2 hot meals a day. And then of course, there's everything in between. And so we have to be able to reach out into every population, into every group within the communities that we serve. And we need to start talking very candidly about creating and helping young people at numerous ages to be able to start learning how it's possible to create a light at the end of the tunnel. And it'll be different for all of them, because depending on where they are in this spectrum of lifestyle, will determine on what career might hit the intersection of their lifestyle wants and their career wants. Until you understand the story behind the eyes for every student who is looking at either manufacturing or any other career-focused education that's possible out there, until we know the story behind the eyes and the lifestyle that's possible, we can never truly build relevance into a pathway into manufacturing and beyond. And so this becomes critically important for us to continue to drive that connection to the light at the end of the tunnel. And so a number of years ago, I came up with a concept called education with purpose, based on the light at the end of the tunnel, and kind of like, how do we start doing this in communities? How do we reach out to all, the constituencies and the groups, where no matter where they are, based on cultural or financial, or whether it's a 2-parent home, a no-parent home, whether the kids are couch surfing, whether, no matter where they are, we have to create the purpose necessary for them to take a step in that tunnel. Even if it's one step at a time, even if it's an incredibly small step, they're still moving forward. And it's the ability to start connecting the dots, and I call it education with purpose, so that there's purpose from elementary schools to middle schools to high schools to positive placement, wherever they go from there, whether it's a 4-year degree, 2-year degree, wherever. And I was invited, and Chris had mentioned that I was invited to speak at Harvard, and it was a crowning achievement in my life to be able to speak at Harvard University. Harvard University. And the reason it was a crowning achievement for me is I didn't stand a prayer of getting to Harvard in my high school performance years. In fact, full disclosure, my friends, in high school, I was in the half of the class that made the top half possible. And so for any of you that might be snickering or smiling, it's because you did the math on that really quickly, especially in the afternoon here. And so I was invited to speak to governors, lieutenant governors, K-12 statewide superintendents, chancellors of community college systems, and Fortune 100 top executives. They invited 400 people, 600 people showed up, and I was speaking to them. I was speaking to them about the notion that we have in this country that we're making kids college and career ready. Most of you heard that phrase before. It came down from the federal government years and years and years ago, that we're making kids college and career ready. And I talked about how I love the phrase. The phrase is fantastic. On its merits, it's noble. It's fantastic. We should be making young people today college and career ready. I said, but there's a problem with the phrase. And the person who invented the phrase was actually sitting at the table right in front of me. I said, there's one problem with the phrase. No one in America reads the term "and" in between the word college and the word career. Nope, they read it as college career ready. And when they say college, they mean university. And as if that's the only way in America to be successful. And so what I spoke about that day to a robust standing ovation was that I don't think we should be making kids college and career ready in this country. I think we should be making them career ready, period. Sure, all kinds of wonderful careers and occupations go through four-year universities, baccalaureate degrees, masters, PhDs, MDs, JDs, and many others. But also there's wonderful careers and occupations that go through two-year associate's degrees at community and technical colleges across America. There's also wonderful careers and occupations that go through certifications and advanced certifications and licensures and apprenticeships and the military and so on. I'm like, why did we take one of so many ways to be successful in America and put it in the phrase? Because by putting it in the phrase, we have highlighted that if you don't do that, then somehow you are less. And that's completely untrue. And this is where America has changed, because I think this is the single greatest time in career-focused education and for manufacturing that I have ever seen in this country. I think it's the most incredible opportunity because the paradigms of old, the stigmas of old, the things that are holding back people in this country from seeing the true value in advanced manufacturing and what's possible and how we close the skills gap in not only manufacturing, but in many other industries as well, is the fact that the best time to shift the paradigm, which is why I chose to speak about this today. The best time to choose the paradigm is when the old paradigms are in crisis, and they are absolutely in crisis. COVID has made and developed a crisis that needs to be addressed. Parents are wondering what's possible for their kids. Kids are wondering what's possible for them. Gen Z is completely debt averse. They do not want to go and invest lots of dollars, and they certainly don't know what to do, whether they're, many of them are looking at taking gap years this year. Some of them that are going in are wondering, is it still going to cost me the same to do virtual X, Y? All of these things are in play. And so how do we tell this story? And so just to underpin the concept of what I'm talking about, both the light at the end of the tunnel and shifting the paradigm, I want to talk about a concept that I developed 8 years ago that's been going into colleges and high schools across the country. And this is just to underpin the idea. And I don't have the time to tell you the whole, career tree concept. So I'm just going to give you the 10,000-foot quick view just to underpin the importance of the discussion, the dialogue on both enrollment and retention of keeping students focused so that we can increase performance results. So this is a career tree from a school just outside of Philadelphia. And this is one of the new clients who just came out. That's why I was able to pull their tree pretty quickly. And so it's their Precision Machine Tool Technology program. They have 40 programs in this particular program, and they've got 9 different school districts that feed this particular school. And they're wildly successful. They're doing very well. They're largely very full, but they don't retain students as well as they would like to retain them. And so we're connecting the dots, we're shifting the paradigm. And the career tree is a simple concept, right? It's a 6-foot wide by 4-foot high interactive wall graphic. Actually sits on the wall in the lab, and teachers can use it and reference it all day long. And it's a simple narrative. And here's what it is that every program and pathway is the trunk of a tree, right? The trunk leads to a branch system. And the branch system simply represents all the careers and occupations that are possible as a result of completing that program, pathway, or trunk. And so, the only difference in the 3 levels of the branches is the amount of education or experience it takes to unlock the next level. So for instance, when I complete the program, I take whatever certifications, whatever experience, whatever education that I've gotten in this particular precision machine program, and I immediately unlock the first level. First level is the entry-level career area. Entry level is not synonymous with low pay. Entry level simply means that I can go do those things right now. I don't need any additional education or experience to do it. But if I want to unlock the middle of the tree and I wanted to do one of these things, well, then I just need additional education or experience to do it. Maybe it's a 2-year associate's degree. Maybe it's an advanced certification. Maybe it's some kind of specialized training. Maybe it's completing an apprenticeship. Anything that unleashes the next level. It's whatever that training, education, or experience is. But if I want to reach the top of the tree, it's just, again, just additional education or experience. Maybe I need a 4-year degree, master's, PhD, so on. All of those things become viable. The only difference in the 4 levels is the amount of education or experience it takes to unlock it. But here's where the world's changed. There's also no guarantee that you make more money or that your lifestyle's any better as you move up the tree. And this has changed everything. Because most people believe, well, if I want to make more money, I go to the top of the tree. Actually, no, that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily untrue. It's just not necessarily true either. We live in a world where things have completely changed. So if this was an electrical program, right? There are electrical programs, and we do a lot of college trees. I'm just showing the high school ones today because it's these are the ones I had ready for today. So it's an electrical tree. So this is a live electrical tree. It's in just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And on this particular tree, there are electrical programs across the country in K-12 districts and career centers and unified school districts, community and technical colleges. And what most people think is, wow, I could be an electrical program in high school. And if I complete that program and go off to a 4-year degree and beyond, well, one day I can become an electrical engineer. Like that's a perfectly viable option out there. And many people choose that option. But you know what? I can also take that same high school electrical program. I can complete the program, go off, start an apprenticeship, work the apprenticeship with a contractor, complete it, and I would be completing my apprenticeship. I'd be in the technical careers area as a journeyman electrician. Do you realize on average in this country that journeyman electricians make twice as much as electrical engineers with no debt, I might add? It's an extraordinary story to tell. And it's an extraordinary part of the narrative that we need in order to start getting young people and their parents and community members and sending programs in schools and districts to understand the power that in a manufacturing program, so welding, mechatronics, all of the different kinds of advanced manufacturing kinds of things that are going on across the country, to get people interested, to understand the power of what's there, they have to be able to think beyond just one outcome. Because in most programs across the country, people view that program as leading to just one job. And that's why it's hard to get people involved. They don't understand the power of robust academic knowledge, technical competencies, and professional skills working together to create a competitive advantage that will serve them going to a 4-year degree and beyond, will serve them in a 2-year associate's degree and beyond, will serve them directly into a career, becoming an entrepreneur and going into the military. All of those things are possible. And so being able to demonstrate it, show it, look at it, and see how that comes together. And this is what I work on with schools across America, is to shifting the paradigm, to getting people to think differently. And so it becomes very powerful. And so to shift that paradigm, I realize that I may be talking to people right now who are thinking to themselves, Mark, this sounds great, man. It's like we should need to shift the paradigm. And you're preaching to the choir. I don't feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I feel like I'm teaching the choir. I feel like I'm teaching the choir how to stand up and sing out of the same hymn book, the important information that we have to share day in and day out in order to get people to think differently. Because sure, then we can do all kinds of wonderful enrollment and retention strategic planning. One of the biggest things I'm doing this year is my fall. I've got so many parent webinars scheduled for the evenings in districts across the country. I'm doing them for colleges, I'm doing them for K-12 districts, where they're bringing parents in numbers, from 7 to 8 o'clock at night on a 1-hour webinar with me. So I can address the community issues, talk about shifting the paradigm, what it takes for kids to be competitive today in this new world and where we're going. And then taking questions and answers from parents to shift that paradigm. I've been doing this now for a while, flying in and going and get a performing arts center, but now the ability to do it virtually is extraordinary because it's opened up so many avenues. And that's how we're connecting the dots. So I'll give you an example of how what I just shared with you plays out, how it plays out in a larger scheme. So, I was invited to speak at Montgomery County Public Schools. This was a year ago, January. And the superintendent, it's a huge district just outside of Washington, D.C. And it is 500 square miles. It's run by one county superintendent, but it's 169,000 K-12 kids. What is it, 20, I think it was roughly 23,000 employees, 207 schools, all under one county superintendent. A senior executive at a national construction company handed Jack, the superintendent, my book and said, read this, you have to check this out. And he read it and he called me immediately. And he said, Mark, I really want you to come in and speak to my 500 principals, at my elementary, middle, and high school. When can I get you here? We worked out the dates, and I flew in. They picked me up. They whisked me out to this performing arts center in Rockville, Maryland. And I walked into the back. They walked me into like the backstage area. And sure enough, there are 500 principals sitting in this performing arts center. And the music is blaring, and there's lots of energy in the room. And Jack comes up to me, and this first time we had met personally, face to face. And he comes up to me and he says, Mark, he said, I'm so glad that you're here. Look, you still have 90 minutes to speak, but we're under threat of snow emergency. I got to get you on. I've got to, get you off stage so they can go release school this afternoon. I said, great, let's get going. He goes, but before you go out, he says, I want you to know one thing. He said, the people that you're about to speak to are not only, believe that every kid should go to college. They believe that every kid should go to Harvard. So you got 90 minutes to change all that. Good luck to you. And he patted me on the shoulder and he introduced me. I went out and spoke for 90 minutes. I told them a lot of what I've already told you. I went in depth and more because I had more time to speak to them. I would love more time to speak with you, but we've only got the amount of time that we have. And I spoke to them and got a 2-minute rousing standing ovation at the end. That's how, I don't share this to impress you. I share this to impress upon you that this is how relevant the information I'm talking to you about is, how we need to drive it through our communities, through our parents, through our, mayor's office. And I was invited back 6 months later to give a speech to all their boards of education, to all their university and community college partnerships, to all their business and industry partnerships. And then we did a 2-hour stakeholder meeting. It was about 40 people in this meeting. And we were eating lunch during it. And we were talking, and the entire conversation for this humongous county for 2 hours was, how do we change our 10-year plan from making kids college and career ready to making them career ready, period. When I was on my way out the door, they asked me one final question as I was ready to depart. They said, Mark, we're a big district, a lot of moving parts. It's going to take a while to pull this all together. Is there any low-hanging fruit? Is there anything we can do to start shifting the paradigm right now in our communities? And I thought for a moment and I said, sure. Here's what I would recommend. Those wonderful graduation ceremonies that and they had, I think that it was, I could be wrong, but it was somewhere around 40 high school, a lot of high schools. And I said, I said, those wonderful high school graduations that happen every year where, everybody, starts to, they start, creating all this praise for those who are going to Harvard and Yale and Stanford and all the tier 1 colleges out there and universities and all the success the kids have had, and you're holding them on high, and you're talking about scholarships, and we've gotten millions of dollars in scholarship offers to our kids, and and here's what's going on, and there's great fanfare and celebration, and there's almost confetti guns going off to celebrate the fact that all these kids are going off to a 4-year university and beyond. And I said, it's incredible, it's amazing. And I said, don't change 1 minute of that. Man, that's gold. But take every student going into advanced manufacturing, take every student going to a 2-year community or technical college, take every student going into the military, take every student who has gotten a certification or going for a certification, every student who is getting into an apprenticeship or finishing an apprenticeship, take every student who's getting a licensure, take every student, and if they are picking something based on their light at the end of the tunnel, based on their own unique interests, talents, and abilities, and they are achieving that, and they're moving forward in their life, then they should be held to the exact same celebration. We should be holding them on high. We should be celebrating the fact that whether you're going to Harvard or directly into a career, they both won. They are both successful. They are both even. They both have had an incredible opportunity for them to move forward in their lives. And who says the person who goes directly into the career first won't wind up at Harvard? That's where the world's changed. And this is the message we have to get out across the country. This is the message you can get out from where you are, and how we have to shift the paradigm and get young people to understand the true power of robust academic knowledge, technical competencies, and professional skills in order to be able to move forward. To put this into practicality, I was doing the same thing in Davenport, Iowa, which is right on the Mississippi River across from Illinois. It's in the Quad Cities area. And I was working with Davenport Community Schools, and I was working with their mayor's office and their Chamber of Commerce, their Workforce Investment Board, and key, large manufacturers in the area, one of which is John Deere. John Deere has an amazing advanced manufacturing facility called Davenport Works. It's a 2.2 million square foot facility. It's extraordinary to get a tour. They invited me out to take a tour. They make large agricultural and construction equipment. This was me walking in a little over a year in November, a little over a year ago. And I walked in, and in my tour, I met an impressive young woman by the name of Megan. At the time I met her, Megan was 24 years old. And when I meet impressive young people, I love to ask a very simple question. How did you get here? Like, what's your story? And Megan started telling me her story. She says, well, I was a sophomore at Davenport West High School. I was doing very well. I was a 4.0 student. I was in band. I was in chorus. I was singing on the weekends in a rock band. She loves to sing. And she said, near the end of my sophomore year, it came time to register for classes, and I decided that I wanted to take a welding class. Megan is a welder. So she said, I wanted to take a welding class. I liked it so much, I took a second, I took a third, I took a fourth. I eventually got to the capstone. I finished it, got my certifications, and went and applied after high school to work at John Deere as a welder. At the time, John Deere was under a hiring freeze, and so they couldn't hire her for 9 months, but she called back every month to see if they were open. In the meantime, she went to her local community college, and she was taking classes in order to start getting a jump start on other things that were possible in her life. John Deere finally came through, and she started working for them. At the end of 12 months working there, she took John Deere up on what they offer every person who works there. They offered that they will pay 2/3 of her higher education. So now she goes off to get a 4-year degree in business. John Deere pays for 2/3 of it. She pays the other third of it. Of course, she can pay for it pretty easily. She makes great money. She's a welder. And so she does welding. She does precision machine. And she also worked a little bit in their paint facility. So now Megan, at the age of 24, on the day I met her, she had robust academic knowledge, technical competencies, and professional skills. She also had a 4-year degree in business, and her college debt was zero. There are thousands, if not millions, of examples like this. She found an unconventional way to get where she wanted to go. This is a very powerful story. If you want to read more about Megan's story, by the way, you can look me up on Forbes.com. I wrote an article that went viral. The article that I wrote was just go to Forbes.com. You can punch into the search bar Mark Perna, and all my articles will come up. The article you're looking for is Weld Like a Girl, a millennial female's success in a man's world. Went completely viral. Because of it, Megan was on TV and radio in her entire region, and she became quite the celebrity, over the period of time that article was in hot virtual mode. And it's a powerful story because here is a young woman who did what most people wouldn't think. I mean, how many of us know someone who would have talked an impressive 4.0 female student out of taking welding, when in fact that was the perfect opportunity for her? She saw a light at the end of the tunnel. She was able to put it together. And now she's going, she's at the point where she is making a transition from hourly worker to a salaried worker. And I bet this young woman one day will be managing a large production facility, advanced manufacturing facility for John Deere. It's an impressive story, but one that builds relevance to what we're talking about, is how we attract and retain significantly more of these kinds of students into advanced manufacturing and manufacturing careers across the country. In the virtual world, I wanted to give you a couple of things real quick. I did a Forbes article on becoming virtual and how we connect with young people. And again, when I say young people, 39 and younger, because my view of the younger generations is very different than most. Most people think young people in this country are, they think in negative terms, like they're lazy, they're entitled, they're this or that. I go completely the other way. I think young people in this country are the most incredible generations to come down the pike. I think they are the most intelligent, resourceful, and pit bull-like generations that we have ever seen in this country. When they see a want to in their life, something they truly want, they will move heaven and earth to get to that want to. Our challenge, of course, as educators, employers, and parents, is getting them to want something. That's where the battlefield of the future is. And so in a virtual world, we have to connect, engage, and answer why slightly differently. We have to take certain things into account. And I know some of you are going to be struggling to determine where do you go from here and how do you get there. I went through the same thing. I had the same challenge back in mid-March. I came back from a trip that was triumphant. I have waited 24 years in my life to be invited somewhere glamorous to give a speech. And I was invited by the state of Hawaii to travel to every major island. They paid me to go to every major island and deliver speeches to the community college population and K-12 districts. And so I had the greatest 6-day adventure there. And then I took a couple of days off, came back. I haven't been on a plane since. I've been in my home ever since. And when I got back from that triumphant trip, completely booked solid moving forward, 11 keynote speeches dropped out in the span of 48 hours. And all my consulting dropped out. And all the people that I support every day, I was in a position where our revenue was now zero, and I had all these people to take care of that support what I do. I couldn't eat much for a week. I didn't sleep much for a week. I was in panic mode. Some of you may know what this feels like because you may be in panic mode now. But I will tell you, if you look beyond the panic to what's possible, because I believe this is truly the most exceptional time in history, that if you look beyond the short-term challenges that lie ahead, that you will be able to use the things that you learn and that you adapt to in the coming months to truly set yourself up for the next 5 years, decade, 2 decades, depending on how much longer you have, that you will be able to look back a year or two from now and say, holy cow, I had no idea the things that I was learning, the things that I adapted to, the way I was able to communicate with students, either as an adult learner or a high school learner, would take me as far as it's taken me. That's what's possible. And so a couple things that you might be able to use moving forward is that I find that there are 3 things that are really critical that you have to be able to do in a virtual environment. You have to be able to transmit, if you will, your communication, your process, and your culture. And I'm going to take these one at a time. I'm not going to read all of the slides to you here, but I'm going to show it to you, and you can certainly get a set of my slides. And my last slide of the day will be an evaluation that you can fill out online. And I'm happy to send you these slides. My team will work on that for you. But as far as communication goes, the US workforce right now, 75% of people in the US workforce feel like they're less connected, 60% feel like they're less informed. Knowing that, we have to adapt the way we communicate because it's much higher numbers for young people. They do not feel like they are connected or informed because it's 81% for them. And just because they're digital natives, here are some of the actions. Never assume that they're a digital native. Just because they know how to use a phone and an iPad doesn't mean they necessarily know how to move forward in the technology of Zoom and so on. Communicate well, understand what issues and challenges they're having. Make sure that we are reaching out to everyone within our communities, whether we need to get them hotspots, how we communicate. I commend Chris for all the things that his organization is doing in order to reach people at every cultural level, no matter where they are, but reaching out and helping people take that step and another step and another step, no matter where they are, is extraordinary. From process perspective, here are some of the issues and things that people are dealing with, but I want to jump right to the bottom one of the action steps here, which is make sure that you ensure there's purpose in everything you teach every day. Start with the reason why. The purpose is everything to young people today. They are the why generation, WHY ? And so they need to know what the purpose is. The more they do, the more you can move them forward. And from a cultural standpoint, these are all the social emotional issues, right? Feeling connected, comfortable, feeling like they fit in from afar, and then also being able to feel still important. So some of the actions there is make sure you're giving out real work, real progress. That's important because if there's purpose, real work, and real progress, and they see a light at the end of the tunnel, we can retain students much longer and keep them engaged with us as we continue to walk them down towards their light at the end of their tunnel. So these 3 things have to work kind of hand in hand. I want to give a free gift to you because I knew I wasn't going to have enough time to go into the younger generations, how to connect, engage, and answer why for them in a much deeper way. But if you want to know what how they think, what makes them tick, and I'm talking about 39 and younger, and if you want to know how exceptional they are, this is a gift. If you text the word unleash to 33777. So text unleash to 33777. It's a free gift. My team and I worked on this a few months ago, but it's 10 action steps of ways you can connect, engage. They're short, they're sweet. It'll kind of take you to the next level. It's things that you can implement. It's a beautiful PDF that'll be emailed to you, and then you can forward it on to whomever you would like to start spreading the word and start sharing the information. In shifting the paradigm, that was the reason I wrote this book that Chris mentioned. It's called Answering Why: Unleashing Passion, Purpose, Performance in Younger Generations. I'm very proud of it in all the things that I've been able to accomplish. These are the 8 national book awards that it won. I am most proud of the Nautilus Book Award, which is an award given to books that are thought to make a positive difference in the world. I was blown away to have won this, because if you knew my whole story, which I didn't have time to get into today, you would know what a journey it's been since 1996, when I had very, very humble beginnings, after going through bankruptcy, after going through a divorce, after not making enough money each month, and then also weighing over 400 pounds. And between 1996 to today, I would love to have more time with you one day to go into detail as to how that happened and what brought me to a moment now where I'm an international thought leader and doing the things that I do every day. It wasn't a miracle any of this happened. It was just, it came out of how I was able to pick myself up and the kind of the view that I took. But that Nautilus Book Award, previous winners of that award were the Dalai Lama, Deepak Chopra, and Simon Sinek the year before. Very powerful. But if you go to my website, there's free resources available to you. You don't have to sign up for anything to avail yourself of them, but there's a full book study and discussion guide there with all the content and application questions for every chapter. But there's also a parent and child career conversation starter. This was written for any parent who's trying to connect with anyone in their 20s, their teens, or 8 or 9. It frames the ability to have a conversation of lifestyle first and then have it dovetail into a career conversation. It's meant to be used by teachers across the country, or administrators, educators, whomever. So share it with parents, send it out, forward it. It's a beautiful PDF document, but it'll frame that conversation and help get it to the next level. You can also follow me on Forbes.com. Like I said, you can go there and just put in Mark Perna into the search bar, and you'll get all the articles that I've written. And my Alexa flash briefings it's called the Perna Syndicate. It just started 2 weeks ago. I'm very proud of it. It's every weekday. It's a 1 to 2 minute snippet of things that you can do and connect in these areas: career, education, workforce development, younger generations, and so on. You can read the list. And then I'm going to leave you, with my favorite quote of all time. I want to share this with you. I share it with all my audiences, and it moved my life, and it changed things for me back in 1995 when I saw the movie in the theater, and it was at a time in my life when I needed real motivation. And I'm sure most of you have seen the movie at some point in your life, and stream it tonight if you haven't. But I love the movie because at the beginning of the movie, it's July 20th, 1969, and Tom Hanks, playing Commander Jim Lovell, and his wife are throwing a party at their Houston home to celebrate the fact that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin have walked on the moon for the very first time. My line happens at the end of the night where the guests have all gone home and the Lovells are laying out in their Chase lounges, and Tom Hanks, looking up at the moon, says these words. He says, from now on, we live in a world where man has walked on the moon. It wasn't a miracle. We just decided to go. Wow. It wasn't a miracle. We just decided to go. See, I find these to be the most powerful words of hope I've ever heard in my life, because to understand the power of these words, you have to back up to May 25th, 1961, where John F. Kennedy stands up before a joint session of Congress and later at Rice University and says the words that many of us have heard before. I commit this nation by the end of this decade that we will land a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Do you realize that that speech came only 20 days, just 20 days after Alan Shepard made the first US manned space launch? It lasted all of 15 minutes. We had just enough technology to go and watch him fall. And yet, to lay out a broad goal where hundreds of thousands of Americans would work tirelessly to create things that had never been created before. At the time John F. Kennedy spoke those words, nobody understood how to do this. No one understood anything about Earth orbit rendezvous or lunar orbit rendezvous or the computing power that would be needed to take us on a journey from the Earth to the moon and back again safely. And yet, within 8 years, by the end of the decade, we accomplished that goal. It wasn't a miracle. We just decided to go. My friends, I share this with you for this reason. The things we talked about in this really quick 45-minute presentation are real. The things that are possible. There's ways to shift the paradigm, to get people to think differently. So much so, I'm even starting my own annual conference, which is going to be October of next year, called the Education with Purpose Conference, in order to shift the paradigm. There are ways to shift the paradigm using the things that I spoke about in this really quick time. I know I went fast, and I know, you might have to look back on this, via video to kind of revisit it. But these things are real and they're possible. It doesn't take a miracle to do these things. You just have to make the decision to go. And I realize it's going to be tough this year. I realize that you're going to have some challenges, and you're going to have things that are going to pop up before you, and you're going to be teaching virtually and then hybrid and then in person and then back to virtual. And a lot of things are going to happen to make this challenging. Stay focused, stay positive, because advanced manufacturing is so critically important to our nation, that we close the skills gap, that we get young people to understand, and their parents, the value that you are delivering every single day, either at the college level or at the high school level, that we have to get young people to see that they can create a tremendous competitive advantage, taking their robust academic knowledge, technical competencies, and professional skills, and create that competitive advantage. My friends, my hat's off to you. Thank you for all you do to make a difference every day. I hope I get a chance to cross paths with you again. I wish you Godspeed. God bless you. And thank you. It was an honor to be here with you today. Thank you. That's the address. If you want to fill out an evaluation, online evaluation, it'll only take you 60 seconds. It's tfsresults.com/feedback. And that way my team will send you the slides that you saw today. I would be honored to share them with you. Thank you so much. And then I'll turn it back to Tony, I think.
Thank you so much, Mark. I don't know about anybody else, but wow, after hearing both Chris and Mark speak, I feel like I probably need to go and accomplish something big today. I'm feeling slightly inadequate. Please remember to put your questions in the question box, and we will be opening up for questions with both Mark and Chris. I am so honored to have our next partner talk a little bit about what they bring to the table. I sit on the board for NCATC as a strategic partner, but I also sit on the AMPT board for NTMA for Workforce Development. We're going to open with a quick video that I hope will wow you in just 1 minute to show you what we're doing to really move the needle on exciting the next workforce.
Students with their teachers and industry advisors have been planning, researching, designing, building, testing, and then rebuilding their bots to be able to be ready for this competition.
So this is finals. If you lose twice, you're out.
I'm in charge of driving the robot.
My role is pit boss. The competition is actually pretty fierce. I was here last year also, and our bot's different from last year, but we believe we can do pretty good. Hopefully we can place in the top 10.
We have 8 girls on our team. We're the little ladybugs. I'm the captain. It teaches you a lot about teamwork.
This is full contact innovation. This is that opportunity which is also critical for the manufacturing process of testing what you've built to see how that's going to withstand the unknown, which is the other bot.
I just facilitate the program. There are days I sit back and watch them identify problems and come up with solutions. That's extremely rewarding for me as an educator. Our industry advisor, it's our second year with Duckmade Industries out of Monongahela, Pennsylvania.
The kids do most of the work, but our industry advisors are there to just kind of guide them along the way. Some kids feel like if they're not going to go to college, they really don't know what they're going to do after high school. They don't fit, they don't have a place. Bots IQ gives them a place to learn that there are other opportunities to use their tech skills, their intelligence.
This is the one sport that all the students can be involved with, that they all can go pro if they want to.
Tony, thank you very much for that introduction and for everything that you do to help attract, inspire, and prepare America's manufacturing workforce. I'm Bill Pettis. I am the Workforce Development Manager for the National Tooling Machining Association. We're proud to be sponsors of this webinar and to be a partner with NCATC. Chris and Mark, you both had amazing presentations. Thank you very much for being so informative. And I know there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to bringing back to our association of what I learned and how we can all be working together, making sure that more students are interested in careers in manufacturing. And that's a big part of why we're here and why we're members of NCATC, because NTMA is the national representative of the custom precision manufacturing industry. Our over 1,100 members really represent those small to medium-sized tool and die precision manufacturing companies, those little machine shops, but they do represent about $35 billion worth of sales, and we're all across the country. And the things with NTMA that we're looking to do is we want to be of resource to the members of NCATC and actually the entire precision manufacturing industry. We do have, which you saw in the video, the Engaging Manufacturing's Next Generation Through Full Contact Innovation, or as we call it, the National Robotics League, the NRL program. This NRL program is an amazing opportunity to engage students in a job-driven, project-based STEM learning experience, where they learn about the manufacturing process, they learn the skills, the technical and critical thinking skills needed for careers in manufacturing, but most importantly, through an engagement with industry advisors, they learn about the benefits of a career in manufacturing. And we hope that all the students that participate in this program will see that this is an opportunity for them to go pro. And we need your help to be a part of that, and I will talk about that in a little bit. Other resources that we have available for you to help with your engagement with your education is we have NTMA U, which is our online curriculum that was based for a machinist apprenticeship program. It's approved by the Office of Apprenticeship, and it gives an opportunity for individuals who need to have that fully online opportunity if they can't make the classes. But it's also a great opportunity for you to be able to use into your curriculum as well. And as you can see what our core content is, it's all based on what's needed for a machinist or tool die apprenticeship. And this is all that we offer because this is who we are, and this is where we really are the experts in. We also do have a mechanical aptitude test, which is an opportunity to really find that diamond in the rough, that individual who might not necessarily understand or realize that a career in manufacturing or an educational pathway to a career in manufacturing is something for them. So this is a test that we have is available. We have schools that use that as part of a criteria for entering into a program. And we have companies that also use that to see if there's someone who can enter into an entry level or into their apprenticeship programs. We also do have, speaking of apprenticeship, we've created a pre-apprenticeship program, which is really year one of the related instruction for a machinist apprenticeship. This is a great tool to reach out to our youth in school, juniors and seniors, plus also an opportunity to go to those unengaged youth, those individuals who are not really sure what's happening or what they're really doing post their high school graduation. Here's a great opportunity, or for a lot of people right now that are unemployed and there's jobs that are out there that they're not necessarily going to be able to go back to. This is a great program to get someone involved and entered into where they can really learn those basics about manufacturing and machining. And again, this is why we're here. We are here because we want to work with you, all of you. We want for you to outreach out to our chapters and our members. We want them and our members to be able to be individuals who are on your program advisory committees. We want our members to be hiring the people that are coming from your programs. We want to be able to work with you to either have you help support an NRL program that's currently in your community. We have 18 of them across the country, or to help us to start a program in yours if you don't have it. Again, this is a great opportunity for student engagement and a great opportunity to get more students to be interested in coming into your programs so then they can have that future in manufacturing. What we talked about before is we're looking to see how you can leverage our NTMA U into your curriculum. as an opportunity, especially now where there's so many students that are having to take classes online. Here's a great opportunity to get students to get that, related instruction, to get that instruction that's needed for be a machinist, and get that in and do that online. We also want to work with you to set up our articulation agreements. So for individuals who go through our NCMAU program and get their journeyman papers, that they're able to get credit, college credit, and be able to go on for their associate's or bachelor's degree. We also want to, as I said before, work with you about launching the pre-apprenticeship program in your communities, so more students and unengaged youth can really understand and learn more about what it means to be working in manufacturing. We also have our publications that are out there. I'm sure most of the machinists, instructors that you have probably have an NTMA publication somewhere in their lab, somewhere on their desk. And we have those books that are still available, and we're always willing to be able to provide them out to educators. But also what we are looking for is to be a partner with you to advocate for policy, regulations, and funding that help with educating individuals in their communities to go into industry. We want to be the supporters. We want you to be able to, those funds to come from the federal and state governments, to be able to get our members the opportunity to be able to do more training, but also out to you so you have those resources that are needed. So we are definitely willing to be a partner in making sure that we all have the necessary funds to be able to do what we need to do, which is engaging manufacturing's current and next generation. We are really excited about this opportunity to be here with you. And if you have any questions or you're looking for more information about NTMA, our resources, the National Robotics League program, and getting those kids interested in careers in manufacturing and interested in wanting to go into your programs, please feel free, give me a call, send me an email, and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you very much. And I know you're all excited now for the Q&A session.
All right, at this time, we want to open it up for questions for both Mark and Craig. So I'm going to fire up my camera here. And we are going to go ahead and start. My first question that I have is for Chris. So Chris, if you're there, if you could answer the question saying you're doing great work, can you talk a little bit about actionable items that other colleges can do to engage in the way that you have engaged with both industry as well as the expanded audience that you're working with?
Yes, Tony. The first thing that we did was actually understood what our needs were. We knew that in our community, we looked at who are we serving. And even we look even further than that. We knew that in regards to our non-minority students, that is a tremendous opportunity for us. That is an opportunity for us to, again, to help not only to increase our enrollment, but also our retention and our completion. But even as we're going through and utilizing the funds from the grant, as recent as yesterday, one of the concerns that I've had has been really the retention issue. And as we're looking at that, we're looking at what are some additional steps that could be taken, not only just to get minority students in, but to also to retain them. As we are aware, we see some of the things that are playing out into the national forefront right now. Different ethnicities have different challenges. And in doing that, we also recommend that you also look at increasing some of the representation that you're having from your faculty and staff so that they can better understand also some of the needs that are coming from the diverse student base that you're trying to recruit. And so it is not a quick answer. But what we're realizing is that we're trying to understand, again, the needs of the different ethnicities that we're trying to serve and to put those things in place so that we can be successful for them. And ultimately, we know that it will be a long-term win, both for us as a college and also for the community.
Fantastic, thank you. My next question is for Mark. Mark, can you talk a little bit about the career trees and how those opportunities can help expand the views in the world with the new virtual connection that we have to make with some students and parents?
Sure. The career tree, when I originally came up with the concept, it was an in classroom, in lab kind of, situation where it would be done. But in a virtual world, it works perfectly because every teacher creates their own tree. So every manufacturing program across the country makes their own tree. There doesn't need to be one manufacturing tree because advanced manufacturing might be different in Davenport, Iowa than it is in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. So, you know, being able to put the things that go on the tree was a big part of my push in working with people and educators across the country. But it works in a virtual environment because it can be used as an image. It can be, you know, sent to students, and we have an entire curriculum. And I didn't go into any of this because it wasn't relevant at the moment. But since you asked, but there's an entire curriculum that goes with it, and career plans and resume planners, and you know, how do students at any age, adult learners or high school students, you know, how do they connect not only with where they want to go in a goal setting kind of way, because that's a part and key component of this, when they see a light at the end of the tunnel, that they actually make an affirmation and a goal that this is what they're going to do, but they do it in a for now decision. Young people today hardly if ever make forever decisions, but they will make for now decisions until they are passionate enough about their focus, and then they'll stick with it. But getting them to make a for now decision, by the way, is just simply, you know, it can change next week, next month, next year. But you make a decision for now, so that it kind of eliminates that scope lock of analysis that they're afraid to make a decision that they're going to live with for the rest of their life. So don't put them to one. Make a for now decision, willing to take a step as a result and take another step as a result. That for now decision could be small. That for now decision could be, you know, and so the career tree just allows the conversation to happen so that they can, so that you can start walking them towards, you know, a potential light at the end of the tunnel. And so it can be done in a virtual environment. It can be done in an in-classroom environment. It works, and it's universal, and it shifts the paradigm because parents get it, community members get it, and then they see what's possible and where they can go at any level of education or experience.
Tony, Mark is so correct. He's saying that because I know he said for now. You know, many times what we realize is that people can't be what they can't see, and many times what Mark has talked about many times is a student who wants to go to Harvard. Well, let's just talk about this. Many of the students who we see who come from underserved communities, you know, you ask them, why do you want to be a truck driver? Because to them, the most successful person that they know was someone from the trades. But on the flip side of that, for someone who has gone through academia, all they know is their parents told them that they should be a teacher, or they should be an engineer. They've never been exposed to the trades. And so I think that what we're talking about is actually giving a diverse population of individuals from all economic scales exposure to things that are out there, because as Mark alluded to, you can make a hell of a good living from the trades.
Exactly right. Wait, you know, Chris, you're right on. You know, and that's part of it. That's why I'm kind of on a stump across the country to have these conversations and have these dialogues with parents and communities, is that, you know, any of the things we're talking about, they're all winning idea. If someone chooses it because it's what they would like to do, there's no lose, because and there's also no stop. That's the other thing that most parents don't get, is that, you know, if I create a competitive advantage and I decide that I want to go into advanced manufacturing, so let's say I do it, I want to become a precision machinist, or I'm in mechatronics or whatever, but I go into it, I do well, and I go out and I'm working in the workforce, and then I decide, you know, I'd like to take another step from here. You know, I could stay here, but I could also go somewhere else. But now they've got the you know, the academic knowledge, technical skill to do something else. What I find fascinating about the Megan story is that, you know, Megan no longer professionally welds. She's 25 years old now. She welded professionally for several years, but now she's moving into management, and she's moving into other areas of their facility. So her days of welding as a professional are over. She may still do it personally, but she's not doing it. So it was a way to connect and then determine where does she want to go. Very cool.
And you're right, Mark, because even at rate, you know, if you look at manufacturing, the average age, and Tony, you're going to say we're taking over your segment, but at the average age, manufacturing is over 60. And so when you now talk about not just filling the skills gap, but let's talk about the entrepreneurial opportunities, because now many of these first and second generation entrepreneurs that are out there in these trades are retiring, and many times they don't have kids who want to fill that pipeline. And so now you start talking about financial security. We think about now getting them ready to go into the pipeline, but let's talk about getting them ready to get the experience in the pipeline to probably in the next 10 years to be an entrepreneur for themselves, where they're setting their own financial parameters of where they want to go. And so the opportunities are endless. We have an aging population that we know that's aging out in these areas, and where we used to always think about someone who would not have the academic acumen that they should go into the trades. No, 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 no. It is now an opportunity for an individual who wants to create some financial freedom. That, again, I laugh because it's 93 degrees here. People are complaining about how hot it is, but I tell you what, the person that can handle the facility maintenance facilities regarding the air conditioning can come to my home. It's probably more important to me at this point in time than even going to my personal doctor, because I don't want to be hot.
Chris, I will tell you, so I had some work done on my house. That's the benefit of being home and doing things virtually, is I can get stuff done at my house. And I had a gentleman come, he does, a lot of the, the handy stuff around the house. And, we were chatting because, you can't get him. He's always busy. He's always going somewhere. He's on call all the time. And what's remarkable about it is, he wasn't a good student in school, but he's making a fortune because no one else is doing it. And it's just, there's incredible opportunities in America today. And just young people are so pigeonholed because they don't, you said it best, they don't know what they don't know. And parents don't know what they don't know. And so my goal of writing the book, my goal of doing, Forbes.com, my goal of the Perna Syndicate is to doing parent webinars across America is, how do we get people to think differently and recognize that the world's just different, that we need to step up, and we need to step up for all populations, and we need to make sure that there's equal access to all of the beautiful, wonderful things that are possible in this country, because everyone's needed to help pull this machine of America forward. And the world's going to continue to change, and we're going to need everybody.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I don't think anesthesiologists and dentists thought that they would be shut down and out of work, right? And we saw it happen. And I know where I go to get my hair done, the guy in the booth next door is now working at a manufacturing facility and taking machining classes at a local community college because he couldn't make money to feed his family. He found a quote unquote factory job just to make ends meet. And they were like, listen, you show up, you're hardworking, you're very smart, you've got great, great mechanical aptitude. What can we do to keep you here? And he said, I'll probably never do hair again. He has benefits, he has job security. And that was all going from doing hair to working in manufacturing. And it was funny because he came back to clean out, he's like in a loft space. And Anne Marie said, hey, what are you doing? He goes, you're never going to believe this. And she said, I have a client that will lose her mind over this because this is everything she's telling us. Because her husband was a roofer, and years ago, he's like, I need a better opportunity. I'm like, hey, have him go look at the programs at the local community and technical college. Well, he's a machinist now. So I think it's really important that people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they aren't exposed to. And that's why it's so important that everybody has the opportunity to do that. We do have a question from the audience with Tim Baber. I think Hope is going to go ahead and pop him on here. And then I have a couple more questions to wrap up our webinar.
Tim, your line is open if you'd like to ask a question.
All right, well, while we wait for Tim to figure out his technical issues, Chris, can you talk a little bit more about some of the barriers for entry and how you've worked with your audience to help overcome some of those?
Some of our biggest barrier to entry has been really the belief in individuals that they fit in. That is really what I would say the biggest challenge, because many times when particularly individuals from underserved communities look at a non-minority institution, they might not say it, but they feel many times that maybe I don't belong in that surrounding. And so for us, it's been about going into the community to engage individuals where they are versus expecting them to come to us. And so you have to go and meet them where they are. And you have to be willing to, because number one, it's all about them trusting you. Whether you don't have to look like them for them to trust you, but you have to make sure they have to know how much you care before they hear about anything else you can provide them. And so with us, it has just been about continuously being able to make sure that we are availing ourselves to be in the community, to be engaging, to number one, to deal with community leaders who have a center of influence that can sometimes reach people that we simply can't reach. In Rockford, for instance, there is a young lady and her husband who is a retired instructor here. They have a tremendous reach in the community. And when they reach out, I always laugh. They activate the grandparents network, and they bring their grandparents and their children to us basically by pulling their ear. But that's the most effective approach that we have, because when they get engaged, they get them off the sofa. We want to begin to offer programs to get individuals off the sofa or to stop them from ever getting on the sofa, so it's not as hard to get them back into the workforce.
Keep doing what you're doing, Chris. I love it.
Again, it's been completely awe-inspiring to hear you both today. At this point, I want to turn it back over. I believe Craig McAtee is going to close us out. But gentlemen, I want to thank you both for the work that you're doing and the lives that you're changing. It's amazing. It gets me very emotional, you know, and in this day and age where we don't have a lot of light and all the goodness in the world, this is exactly what we need right now. Is we need to know how to get out and really, you know, be the change that you want to see. So very, very exciting. Craig?
Thanks so much, everyone. Chris, I couldn't, and Mark, I couldn't say anything better than Tony just did about both of your passion and leadership and guidance for all of us on today's webinar. It's been really phenomenal. And I just texted a few people behind the scenes saying, well, I wish the Q&A could go on for, you know, forever. And I'm sure you guys could handle that. But we got to come to an end because one, the webinar ends about now, and we also start our first time ever virtual exhibit hall, which you're, you know, Mark, you'll be a big part of that with TFS results. We've also got American Welding Society, one of our strategic partners, EASE, which is a great new strategic partner, Intelitech, a lot of you know them, NTMA, Bill will be there, we hope, without any problems from his internet provider, and of course, another new provider or strategic partner of ours, Thomas P. Miller Associates, who's doing a lot of great work with the Department of Labor and manufacturing institutes across the country. So we are very happy to close this out with some great comments and questions from all of our attendees. We want to again thank Chris and Mark for your amazing passion and expertise, and Tony, of course, for fielding all the great questions and moderating with our strategic partner, Bill Padnos from NTMA, and of course our host, Cord, with their great GoToWebinar platform and navigation. Trey and Hope, thank you very much for that technical expertise. We'll be sending you a brief survey, as I mentioned, early next week, and this will be a pre-recorded that you can actually come back and view. Don't forget Mark Perna's TFS results feedback that was there. And if you need it, it's just tfsresults.com/feedback. And again, thank you all for attending. We look forward to our next webinar in Series 3, which will be also featuring Mark Perna, and that'll be on September 24th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. More information on that soon. Chris, Mark, thank you again.
My honor, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Take care, everyone.
Yes.